Okay, let's chant Namo Tassa together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Tonight we are starting on the Digha Nikaya. Today also happens to be the first day of the Vasa 2011, and I hope within these 3 months of the Vasa to finish all the suttas in the Digha Nikaya plus the 6 books of the Khuddaka Nikaya. And so tonight we start with the Digha Nikaya. Now the Digha Nikaya means the long discourses of the Buddha. Digha means long, and Nikaya means collections of the discourses. According to the very much respected historian Professor Akira Hirakawa, in his book The History of Buddhism, I think, he says that the true Dhamma existed for 500 years. Actually, this is what the Buddha says, that the true Dhamma will last for 500 years, meaning that after 500 years, the Buddha warned that it will be polluted. So within these 500 years, we see about 250 years after the Buddha's passing away, Emperor Asoka was the emperor in India, and he was a great supporter of Buddhism. So he erected these stone pillars where the carvings of the Buddha's words were made. And now that they have dug up these Asoka pillars, they find that during Asoka's time there were 5 Nikayas. So this is the real Dhamma of the Buddha, the 5 Nikayas, the 5 collections of discourses. And I always stress that there's a very important sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, where the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught in such and such a way, that the Buddha said such and such, the Buddha said not to accept it and not to reject it, but to compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. But the Vinaya is the monastic discipline which concerns only monks and nuns. As far as the Dhamma is concerned, the Buddha says, refer only to the early suttas. So these 5 collections, Nikayas, are actually the words of the Buddha. But unfortunately, the Khuddaka Nikaya has been expanded over the years. And we see, like in 1956, the Burmese added 3 books, which everyone knows are not the words of the Buddha, into the Khuddaka Nikaya. And so from there we know how this Khuddaka Nikaya expanded. Actually, Khuddaka Nikaya means a minor collection, but it has expanded to become a major collection, even more than the other 4 Nikayas. So this Digha Nikaya is one of the early Nikayas which have not been added to. If you say there's some pollution, maybe a little bit, but not much. Now, the Digha Nikaya, the English translation was first done by the Pali Text Society, the husband and wife team, T.W. Rhys Davids and Catherine Rhys Davids. And then the latest translation is by Dr. Maurice Walsh. So the Digha Nikaya consists of 34 suttas and 3 sections. The first one, the Sila Kanda Vaga, the moralities, consists of sutta number 1 until number 13. And the second section, the great division of Mahavagga, is the suttas number 14 until 23. And then the third or last is the Patika division, Patika Vagga, from suttas 24 up to 34. So I'll start with the first sutta, which is the Brahmajala Sutta, the supreme net, what the teaching is not. Some monks consider this to be a very important sutta, but to me a sutta is very important if people listen to it and become enlightened or partially enlightened. But if no one becomes enlightened, either path or fruit, then to me it's not so important. So this Brahmajala Sutta, it just tells us about the different views, the different wrong views that existed during the Buddha's time. Okay, thus have I heard. Once the Lord was travelling along the main road between Rajagaha and Nalanda with a large company of some 500 monks. And the wanderer Suppiya was also travelling on that road with his pupil, the youth Brahmadatta. And Suppiya was finding fault in all sorts of ways with the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, whereas his pupil Brahmadatta was speaking in various ways in their praise. And so these two, teacher and pupil, directly opposing each other's arguments, followed close behind the Lord and his Sangha of monks. Then the Lord stopped for one night with his monks at the royal park of Ambalatika, and Suppiya too stopped there for the night with his pupil Brahmadatta. And Suppiya went on abusing the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, while his pupil Brahmadatta defended them. And thus disputing, they followed close behind the Buddha and his Sangha or order of monks. Now in the early morning, a number of monks, having got up, gathered together and sat in the round pavilion. And this was the trend of their talk. It is wonderful, friends, it is marvelous how the blessed Lord, Arahant, Sammasambuddha, knows, sees and clearly distinguishes the different inclinations of beings. For here is the wanderer Suppiya, finding fault in all sorts of ways with the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, while his pupil Brahmadatta in various ways defends them. And still disputing, they follow closely behind the blessed Lord and his Sangha of monks. Then the Lord, being aware of what those monks were saying, went to the round pavilion and sat down on the prepared seat. Then he said, "Monks, what was the subject of your conversation just now? What talk have I interrupted?" I'll stop here for a moment. So here you see the Suppiya and his disciple following behind the Buddha and the monks, and they were arguing. One was praising the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, one was talking bad. And some of the monks know, so probably because the Buddha and many of his disciples, Arahant disciples, had psychic power, so they knew what the Suppiya and Brahmadatta were talking about. Just as the Buddha here is aware of what his monks were saying, and he went to the pavilion to talk to them. And they told him. So they told him what was happening between Brahmadatta and his teacher Suppiya. And the Buddha said, "Monks, if anyone should speak in disparagement of me, of the Dhamma or of the Sangha, you should not be angry, resentful or upset on that account. If you were to be angry or displeased at such disparagement, that would only be a hindrance to you. For if others disparage me, the Dhamma or the Sangha, and you are angry or displeased, can you recognize whether what they say is right or not? No, Lord. If others disparage me, the Dhamma or the Sangha, then you must explain what is incorrect as being incorrect, saying, that is incorrect, that is false, that is not our way, that is not found among us. But monks, if others should speak in praise of me, of the Dhamma or of the Sangha, you should not on that account be pleased, happy or elated. If you were to be pleased, happy or elated at such praise, that would only be a hindrance to you. If others praise me, the Dhamma or the Sangha, you should acknowledge the truth of what is true, saying, that is correct, that is right, that is our way, that is found among us. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, he's telling his monks not to be angry or not to be too happy, because emotions, if you get very happy one day, another day you're going to be very sad, because you allow your emotions to sway. So the Buddha's teachings is to control our emotions. Don't be too happy so that you won't be too sad when sorrow comes. And to have a hold on our mind. Don't let it move so much. And the Buddha continued, it is monks, for elementary inferior matters of moral practice, that the worldling would praise the Tathagata. And what are these elementary inferior matters for which the worldling would praise him? Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is going to go into the list of moral conduct that the Buddha and his disciples practice, and which the Buddha says people praise him for it. But to the Buddha, praising this moral practice, although it's necessary, the Buddha says it is inferior. There are higher things. Okay, the first part, the short section on morality. Abandoning the taking of life, the ascetic Gautama dwells refraining from taking life, without stick or sword, scrupulous, compassionate, trembling for the welfare of all living beings. Thus the worldling would praise the Tathagata. Abandoning the taking of what is not given, the ascetic Gautama dwells refraining from taking what is not given, living purely, accepting what is given, awaiting what is given, without stealing. Abandoning unchastity, the ascetic Gautama lives far from it, aloof from the village practice of sex. Abandoning false speech, the ascetic Gautama dwells refraining from false speech, a truth speaker, one to be relied on, trustworthy, dependable, not a deceiver of the world. Abandoning malicious speech, he does not repeat there what he has heard here, to the detriment of these, or repeat here what he has heard there, to the detriment of those. Thus he is a reconciler of those at variance, and an encourager of those at one, rejoicing in peace, loving it, delighting in it, one who speaks up for peace. Abandoning harsh speech, he refrains from it. He speaks whatever is blameless, pleasing to the ear, agreeable, reaching the heart, urbane, pleasing and attractive to the multitude. Abandoning idle chatter, he speaks at the right time, what is correct and to the point of Dhamma and Vinaya. He is a speaker whose words are to be treasured, seasonable, reasoned, well defined and connected with the goal. Thus the worldling would praise the Tathagata. So here the Buddha is talking about the 7 precepts. In the early discourses of the Buddha usually talks about these 7 precepts. These 7 precepts are also considered the Aryan Sila, Aryan moral conduct. In the Noble Eightfold Path, 3 factors comprise the Sila component: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech consists of 4 precepts: not to lie, not to carry tales, to cause quarrel and fights, not to speak coarse or vulgar words, and not to engage in idle gossip. These are the 4 precepts under right speech. Under right action, you have 3 precepts: not to kill, not to steal, or here it says not to take what is not given, and not to engage in sexual misconduct. And then right livelihood, actually there are no precepts there because it is covered by right speech and right action. Right livelihood means you earn a livelihood without harming others. So these 3 together consist of 7 precepts. So if a person upholds these 7 precepts and he understands the Dhamma, then he can become an Arya. So these 7 precepts are very important. The ascetic Gautama is a refrainer from damaging seeds and crops. He eats once a day and not at night, refraining from eating at improper times. He avoids watching dancing, singing, music and shows. He abstains from using garlands, perfumes, cosmetics, ornaments and adornments. He avoids using high and wide beds. He avoids accepting gold and silver, in other words money. He avoids accepting raw grain or raw flesh. He does not accept women and young girls, male or female slaves, sheep and goats, cocks and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares, fields and plots. He refrains from running errands, from buying and selling, from cheating with false weights and measures, from bribery and corruption, deception and insincerity, from wounding, killing, imprisoning, highway robbery, and taking food by force. Thus the worldling would praise the Tathagata. So here, these are the other precepts which make up for the 10 precepts of a Samanera. Okay, then the middle section on morality. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins, feeding on the food of the faithful, are addicted to the destruction of such seeds as are propagated from roots, from stems, from joints, from cuttings, from seeds, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such destruction. Thus the worldling would praise the Tathagata. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins, feeding on the food of the faithful, remain addicted to the enjoyment of stored up goods such as food, drink, clothing, carriages, beds, perfumes, meat, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such enjoyment. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins, etc., remain addicted to attending such shows as dancing, singing, music, displays, recitations, hand music, cymbals and drums, fairy shows, acrobatic and conjuring tricks, combats of elephants, buffaloes, bulls, goats, rams, cocks and quail, fighting with staves, boxing, wrestling, sham fights, parades, maneuvers and military reviews, the ascetic Gautama refrains from attending such displays. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to such games and idle pursuits as 8 or 10 row chess, chess in the air, hopscotch, spillikins, dicing, hitting sticks, hand pictures, ball games, blowing through toy pipes, playing with toy plows, turning somersaults, playing with toy windmills, measures, carriages and bows, guessing letters, guessing thoughts, mimicking deformities, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such idle pursuits. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to high and wide beds and long chairs, couches adorned with animal figures, fleecy or variegated coverlets, coverlets with hair on both sides or one side, silk coverlets embroidered with gems or without, elephant horse or chariot rugs, choice spreads of antelope hide, couches with awnings, or with red cushions at both ends, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such high and wide beds. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to such forms of self-adornment and embellishment as rubbing the body with perfumes, massaging, bathing in scented water, shampooing, using mirrors, ointments, garlands, scents, unguents, cosmetics, bracelets, headbands, fancy sticks, bottles, swords, sunshades, decorated sandals, turbans, gems, yak-tail fans, long-fringed white robes, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such self-adornment. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to such unedifying conversation as about kings, robbers, ministers, armies, dangers, wars, food, drink, clothes, beds, garlands, perfumes, relatives, carriages, villages, towns and cities, countries, women, heroes, street and well gossip, talk of the departed, desultory chat, speculations about land and sea, talk about being and non-being, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such conversation. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to disputation such as, you don't understand this doctrine and discipline, Dhamma Vinaya. I do. How could you understand this doctrine and discipline? Your way is all wrong, mine is right. I am consistent, you aren't. You said last what you should have said first, and you said first what you should have said last. What you took so long to think up has been refuted. Your argument has been overthrown, you are defeated. Go on, save your doctrine, get out of that if you can. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such disputation. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to such things as running errands and messages, such as for kings, ministers, nobles, Brahmins, householders, and young men who say, "Go here, go there, take this there, bring that from there." The ascetic Gautama refrains from such errand running. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins remain addicted to deception, patter, hinting, belittling, and are always on the make for further gains, the ascetic Gautama refrains from such deception. Thus the worldling would praise the Tathagata. Stop for a moment. So here you see some of these conducts are expansion of the 10 precepts, luxurious living. And the last part, 1.20, this deception, patter, hinting, belittling, on the make for further gains. This is considered wrong livelihood for the monk. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins, feeding on the food of the faithful, make their living by such base arts, such wrong means of livelihood as palmistry, divining by signs, portents, dreams, body marks, mouth gnawings, fire oblations, oblations from a ladle of husk, rice powder, rice grains, ghee or oil, from the mouth or of blood, reading the fingertips, house and garden law, skill in charms, ghost law, earth house law, snake law, poison law, rat law, bird law, crow law, foretelling a person's lifespan, charms against arrows, knowledge of animals' cries. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts and wrong means of livelihood. Stop here for a moment. You see here, palmistry, fortune telling is not allowed for a monk. And divining by signs, meaning geomancy, what we call hong sui, feng shui, also not allowed for a monk. Wrong livelihood for a monk. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins make their living by such base arts as judging the marks of gems, sticks, clothes, swords, spears, arrows, weapons, women, men, boys, girls, male and female slaves, elephants, horses, buffaloes, bulls, cows, goats, rams, cocks, quail, iguanas, bamboo rats, tortoises, deer. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins make their living by such base arts as predicting the chiefs will march out, the chiefs will march back. Our chiefs will advance and the other chiefs will retreat. Our chiefs will win and the other chiefs will lose. The other chiefs will win and ours will lose. Thus there will be victory for one side and defeat for the other. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins make their living by such base arts as predicting an eclipse of the moon, the sun, a star, that the sun and moon will go on their proper course or will go astray, that a star will go on its proper course or will go astray, that there will be a shower of meteors, a blaze in the sky, an earthquake, thunder, a rising, setting, darkening, brightening of the moon, the sun, the stars, and such will be the outcome of these things. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts and wrong means of livelihood. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins make their living by such base arts as predicting good or bad rainfall, a good or bad harvest, security, danger, disease, health, or accounting, computing, calculating, poetic composition, philosophizing. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts and wrong means of livelihood. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins make their living by such base arts as arranging the giving and taking in marriage, engagements and divorces, declaring the time for saving and spending, bringing good or bad luck, procuring abortions, using spells to bind the tongue, binding the jaw, making the hands jerk, causing deafness, getting answers with a mirror, a girl medium, a deva, worshipping the sun or great Brahma, breathing fire, invoking the goddess of luck. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts and wrong means of livelihood. Whereas some ascetics and Brahmins, feeding on the food of the faithful, make their living by such base arts, such wrong means of livelihood, as appeasing the devas and redeeming vows to them, making earth house spells, causing virility or impotence, preparing and consecrating building sites, giving ritual rinsings and bathings, making sacrifices, giving emetics, purges, expectorants, and flammagorges, giving ear eye, nose medicine, ointments and counter-ointments, eye surgery, pediatry, using balms to counter the side effects of previous remedies. The ascetic Gautama refrains from such base arts and wrong means of livelihood. It is monks for such elementary, inferior matters of moral practice that the worldling would praise the Tathagata. So here you see the different shaman practices, predictions, making predictions and all that. All this the Buddha says is wrong livelihood. But because the Buddha practices these things, he gets praised for not indulging all these predictions and wrong means of livelihood. But the Buddha still says these are inferior matters of moral practice. There are amongst other matters profound, hard to see, hard to understand, peaceful, excellent, beyond mere thought, subtle, to be experienced by the wise, which the Tathagata, having realized them by his own super knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak. And what are these matters? There are amongst some ascetics and Brahmins who are speculators about the past, having fixed views about the past, and who put forward various speculative theories about the past in 18 different ways. I stop here for a moment. So here is there are 18 different wrong views about the self and the world based on the past. On what basis, on what grounds do they do so? There are some ascetics and Brahmins who are eternalists, who proclaim the eternity of the self and the world in 4 ways. On what grounds? Here monks, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has by means of effort, exertion, application, earnestness and right attention attained to such a state of mental concentration that he thereby recalls past existences, 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, 5, 10 births, 100, 1,000, 100,000 births, several hundred, several thousand, several 100,000 births. There my name was so and so. My clan was so and so, my caste was so and so, my food was such and such, I experienced such and such pleasant and painful conditions, I lived for so long. Having passed away from there, I arose there. There my name was so and so, and having passed away from there, I arose here. Thus he remembers various past lives, the conditions and details. And he says, the self and the world are eternal, barren like a mountain peak, set firmly as a post. These beings rush around, circulate, pass away and re-arise, but this remains eternally. Why so? I have by means of effort, exertion, attained to such a state of mental concentration that I have thereby recalled various past existences. That is how I know the self and the world are eternal. That is the first way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. And what is the second way? Here monks, a certain ascetic or Brahmin has by means of effort, exertion, etc., attained to such a state of mental concentration that he thereby recalls 1 period of contraction and expansion, 2 such periods, 3, 4, 5, 10 periods of contraction and expansion. There my name was so and so. That is the second way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. Stop here for a moment. Here, a period of contraction and expansion refers to a world cycle. A world cycle. There's a time when the world expands and a time when the world contracts. And this refers to the stars. Expansion means the stars go away from each other. The galaxy expands. The stars go away from each other. And after some time, it will collapse. That is contraction. And the stars come closer and closer together until they come together and burn. That will be the end of the world. And what is the third way? Here monks, an ascetic or Brahmin, has by means of effort, etc., attained to such a state of mental concentration that he recalls 10, 20, 30, 40 periods of contraction and expansion. There my name was so and so, etc. That is the third way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. And what is the fourth way? Here a certain ascetic or Brahmin is a logician, a reasoner, hammering it out by reason, following his own line of thought. He argues, the self and the world are eternal, barren like a mountain peak, set firmly as a post. These beings rush around, circulate, pass away and re-arise, but this remains forever. That is the fourth way in which some ascetics and Brahmins proclaim the eternity of the self and the world. These are the four ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins are eternalists and proclaim the eternity of the self and the world on four grounds. And whatever ascetics or Brahmins are eternalists and proclaim the eternity of the self and the world, they do so on one or other of these four grounds. There is no other way. This monks, the Tathagata, understands. These few viewpoints thus grasped and adhered to will lead to such and such destinations in another world.